welcome everyone. This is Kira Zeidelman with NARUC Center for Partnerships and Innovation. I'm pleased to turn things over today to Commissioner Diane Berman, Chair of our Committee on Gas. Commissioner Berman?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. We're having really excellent webinar today. As folks know, every month, Committee on Gas meets the third Friday of the month for an hour, and at that time we generally try to have an outside speaker or two sharing some substantive information. We're really lucky to be able to do this now jointly with not only the Committee on Gas and the Staff Subcommittee on Gas, but the Pipeline Safety Committee and Staff Subcommittee as well. Also, it is being sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy through our natural gas partnership. This is really a cooperative effort emerging technologies and regulatory options for improving commission oversight of natural gas utilities. We had initially had this under the Natural Gas Infrastructure Modernization Partnership. As of July 1st, 2020, NARUC and DOE entered into another long-term, but in this case, 5-year partnership for the Natural Gas Partnership, which replaces the NGIMP. However, it's going to continue the ongoing work that we're doing, not only on leak detection, but on things like infrastructure modernization and innovation that is in the gas space. We've done several different things, including handbooks and manuals on natural gas distribution infrastructure replacement and modernization, which was a review of state programs, as well as renewable natural gas workshop. Also a handbook on sampling of methane emission detection technologies and practices for natural gas distribution infrastructure. And we also held a methane leak detection workshop, and we've done a number of other things, most recently the ARPA-E repair briefing. We've heard loud and clearly from folks that they're very interested in as many substantive things as possible in this space, especially as it relates to ways to improve our regulatory structure over natural gas and in innovations and technologies that can benefit. I'm happy to turn it over now to Commissioner Jay Velasquez from Washington UTC to tee it up with what's happening in this webinar. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Chair Berman and Commissioner Berman, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. We have a great discussion planned and some great folks from CONED, as well as Kevin Speicher, who's the Chief of Natural Gas and Hazardous Liquid Pipeline Safety with the New York Department of Public Service, to talk about these methane detectors. I've heard a lot about this project as it got started, and I'm looking forward to hearing the remarks from Kevin as well as our CONED panelists to talk about the results of the pilot. So as I mentioned, Kevin Speicher will lead us off to talk about the New York Department of Public Services perspective on the project. And then we have 3 folks from CONED on today's webinar. We have Mark Hustis. He's the Senior Vice President of Gas Operations at CONED. He is responsible for the overall company gas operations, engineering, project and customer programs, and compliance and quality assurance groups. Then we have Melissa Corneal, who is the project manager in the gas operations, project management, and customer programs department at CONED. Melissa started her career as a gas mechanic and has 13 years of experience in the natural gas industry. She holds a bachelor's degree in organizational management from Manhattan College and a master's degree in construction management from NYU. And then finally, we have Jonathan Diaz, who is an engineer in the gas engineering department at CONED. He is a mechanical engineering graduate from the City College of New York. And for the past 3 years, Jonathan has been part of a core team working on the development and execution of the pilot program to install natural gas detectors in customers' premises that are capable of transmitting the alarm signal back to CONED's Gas Emergency Operations Center. Again, I'm really looking forward to the discussion this afternoon. And at this point, I will turn it over to Kevin Speicher from the New York DPS. Kevin.
Hi, thank you. This is Kevin Spicer from the New York State Department of Public Service. I'm the program manager for the gas pipeline safety section. Just wanted to quickly give a update of where New York is with this. So New York, after really, it started before East Harlem, but really after East Harlem, we had noticed throughout that investigation that we had, and we conducted interviews with people who claimed to have smelled gas prior to the incident occurring. This theme was seen in other incidents prior to and after East Harlem, where people claimed to have smelled gas and did not report it. So at that time, this was in 2014, we really took an active role in promoting residential methane detectors in buildings. And from the commission standpoint, it really kicked off into September of 2014 when the commission approved a settlement agreement with one of our companies that earmarked money for towards a residential methane detector pilot program. And in this program, it was really a technical assessment of commercially available methane detectors at that time. And there was, I believe GTI was involved with some of the testing of doing this thing. And really came to find out that there were a lot of viable methane detectors out there, and we're really looking for something that would alarm close to the requirements for authorizations for readily detectability of gas. So we did find there were two devices at that time that were commercially available. So work after that, we found a lot more, and there's a lot more development that were developed afterwards. So we've really been active in this, and we have, I think, 9 of our top 11 distribution companies have some form of residential methane detection rollout programs where they have to distribute residential methane detectors to customers within their service territories. So we're really promoting this. We've been just an advocate of it. So after East Harlem, CONED kind of took this to the next level with the device that they're going to be talking about today, and it's really groundbreaking. Tremendous success from our standpoint, and it's sending an alarm back to their control center, their gas control center. In some of these cases, it's before the residents of the buildings have even, before they smelled anything, before they even know they have a gas leak. So it really is, it's a step increase in safety, in my opinion, and really hoping to see this on a much wider rollout across the country. But I know I don't want to steal too much thunder out of CONED'S presentation, but they're going to be doing a much wider rollout of their program. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mark.
All right, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Commissioner Berman and Commissioner Velasquez, and good afternoon, everyone. And we certainly appreciate the invitation to share our journey in developing and deploying AMI-enabled natural gas detectors. So Melissa and Jonathan are going to take us through where we are in the journey, but Kevin just sketched it out pretty well, but I thought it might be helpful to briefly frame up how we got started down this road with leveraging our AMI technology and working on enhancing available residential methane detector technology. So of course at CONED, no different than any other gas utility, we are focused on and committed to reducing the risk of a gas leak leading to a significant event that could impact public safety. And we focus on reducing risk through prevention, detection, and response. In the area of prevention, we've accelerated replacement of leak-prone pipe to a rate of 90 miles per year and have upgraded our construction and quality programs in parallel with that. In the realm of response, we partner with the local fire departments to enhance our collective emergency response effectiveness, and we've used data analytics to optimize the response time of our own crews, improving our 30-minute leak response performance from in the neighborhood of 88% 5 years ago to 98% today. And we take pride in these emergency response improvements, but quite frankly, they're meaningless if we don't know there's a leak to respond to. So as Kevin alluded to, the impetus for this program to improve our detection ability was really born out of the East Harlem tragedy. So that event occurred on March 12th, 2014. A gas leak led to an explosion. It caused 8 people to lose their lives, 50 sustained significant injury, 100 families were displaced, and 3 buildings were destroyed. And none of it had to happen. And I think we all appreciate with any significant event, there are multiple contributing factors to what happened, any one of which, if removed, would prevent it. But we really were struck by a singular aspect that made this incident even more tragic. And as Kevin stated, based on post-event interviews, local area residents reported smelling gas the day before the explosion occurred. But the gas odor was never reported until shortly before the explosion, and we simply could not get there soon enough to make a difference. So following that experience, and with the support and collaboration with New York State DPS safety staff, we committed ourselves to do whatever we could to prevent such an event from happening again. And that commitment in the nexus with the start of our advanced meter infrastructure, or AMI project, was the origin of this program. So that was 2014, and I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and Jonathan at this point to share where we've been since then and where we are now in 2020. So Melissa, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. During today's presentation, we're going to take you on a journey that explains how we came to use natural gas detectors. We'll explain the design and functionality, the product testing and challenges, and our experiences during the pilot program. We will also touch upon our mass deployment effort. Con Edison was founded in 1823 and is the longest listed stock on the New York Stock Exchange. We provide gas, electric, and steam to New York City and Westchester County, where we serve 1.2 million gas customer meters and about 375,000 gas services. Con Edison has a very unique service territory in terms of inside services and inside meters. And based on the age and the urban density of our service territory, approximately 80% of our meters are inside. This program is intended to be installed per gas service, not per meter. We are currently installing them in parts of Westchester and parts of Manhattan. On the left-hand side is the aftermath of March 2014 East Harlem incident, which catalyzed our commitment to leverage methane detection technology and our AMI project to minimize the chance for this type of event to happen again. In this event, as Mark mentioned, there was post-event information that area residents were smelling gas up to 20 hours before the explosion, but no one called until about 25 minutes before the explosion happened. We just could not get there in time to prevent it. Using technology and moving away from reliance on someone smelling a gas odor, recognizing the smell, and then taking action to call has been our overriding objective ever since. On the right-hand side is a photo of the aftermath of an explosion that occurred just 1 year later on March 26 of 2015 in the East Village neighborhood of Manhattan. This explosion caused 2 deaths and injured 9 others. This incident was a result of a plumber and building owner illegally tapping into a gas pipe, a much different scenario than the East Harlem event, but as we will share in a few minutes, an event that may have been prevented if an AMI-enabled gas detector had been installed in the building. These are the findings from the East Harlem incident. You can see all the red circles where customers noticed an odor of gas and did not call Con Edison. The yellow triangle shows the customer that was smelling gas the day prior, but only called 25 minutes before the explosion. After East Harlem, where people smelled gas and didn't call in, We really augmented our existing public awareness and education campaign. We rolled out the Smell Gas, Act Fast, multimedia and multilingual, and did everything we could to make sure people were aware of the importance of calling when they smell gas and not to assume someone else was going to call. Some of the ways we get the message out is through bill inserts, online videos, and videos on TV. We also use social media such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The industry has long recognized through significant events the value of a residential natural gas detector to improve public safety. This is also the driver with Con Edison moving ahead with this program and the importance of it to the industry.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm going to take you through our journey of how we got to our detector as well, to be installed in our customer premises to enhance not only customer safety, but responder safety. Many of our incoming calls are and will continue to be from the public, as they make up about 90% of our calls. I just wanted to reinforce that because our awareness campaigns will always be there. The detector is not going to change that. So how do we ensure that the technology we use reaches the goal of public and responder safety? So one of the first steps was to align the sensitivity of the product that we're going to select with the New York State authorization level, which is 10% of the LEL, lower explosive limit. But UL 1484, which is the industry standard for methane detection, has a requirement of 25% LEL. Now, this is a standard for commercially available products. Now, frankly, this requirement ensured that methane would be detected at about the same time that our customers could smell the mercaptan. So we wanted to make sure that we were on the same level. And lastly, this increased requirement can also provide valuable time to our first responders. Not only is this meant for safety of our customers, but for the safety of our first responders. We want to give them as much time as possible. Now, our product timeline started when we were preparing our advanced metering infrastructure business case. At that moment, we wanted to ensure that our business case included provisions for adding sensors to the network. And it was with that thinking that we were able to realize that later on in the AMI program that we were able to install smart detectors or other types of sensors that could communicate back to us. Then in 2016 and 2017, we did a request for information to see which companies, which manufacturers were interested and would be willing to participate. And we ended up with 5 manufacturers, which we then provided with product and performance testing requirements, which included a sensor performance at 10% LEL, which it didn't exist at that time. We also tested response to household products, and we wanted to ensure that we had the best product out there. And out of that, we selected the best product that showed and passed all of these performance requirements. Now, these performance requirements were done through GTI, which is the Gas Technology Institute. Then once we completed our testing process, we began to plan our pilot program to install 9,000 detectors, in which 1,000 were installed in Manhattan and 8,000 were installed in Westchester. And this pilot program was conducted between 2018 and 2019. And for the pilot program, we were looking to see how these units would actually behave in real life conditions. And we also wanted to see our response to these types of events, to these types of alarms, which I will touch on later on in the presentation. Now, I'm going to show you a video which was done by our local CBS News. And it was done almost exactly 2 years ago when we started our pilot program. And it explains how the unit works and the customer experience. So I'm going to change the video or the screen.
In this house are almost as old as the house, so there's some worry that leaking may occur. Smith is among the first of 9,000 gas customers who will receive a smart natural gas detector.
It's continuously sniffing. It's continuously monitoring the air and the atmosphere to see if there's any methane detected.
If it senses gas building up, it sounds an 85 decibel alert. detector in the basement is in constant communication with the ConEdison smart meter on the outside of the house. When the detector goes off, the smart meter immediately contacts ConEdison, which sends a crew and calls the local fire department. Having a gas detector that reads right back to ConEd and the fire department is very comforting. It is the kind of technology that could have warned of impending danger before the March 2014 East Harlem gas explosion that killed 8 people. This unit that we developed is more sensitive than anything commercially available today by a factor of 2.5 times. Jared Smith says he travels a lot and is believed to know if this detector sniffs out danger, it will signal for help, whether he's home or away. In Mount Vernon, New York, Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
Okay. All right, and this is the final product that we ended up with. We started our pilot program with a 5-year device and have since improved it to our current deployment unit, which is a 6-year device. And we are working with the manufacturer to improve it to a 7-year unit and a 10-year unit. The 7-year unit we expect to be available by the middle of next year. And the 10-year unit, we're expecting it to be available by the beginning of 2023. The unit is battery operated. There are no electric cables, no connections, which is a benefit because there's no worry about having to run electric wires or conduit or to reach any connections, which is common with some commercially available methane detectors. And the reason for the lifespan is due to the sensor technology, not because of the battery. A battery can always be added, but the sensor technology to get to a 10-year product is currently being tested, and it has to do with the degradation and filtering of the sensor over time. Also, it's important to note that there is no customer maintenance required. This is a ConEdison product, and that means that if the device requires a battery replacement or there is something wrong with it, we receive this silent signal back in our offices, and we schedule an appointment with the customer to do the replacement, whether it is a battery or the device altogether. The only sound that the customer will ever hear is the gas alarm if it goes off. Everything else is silent, and we would perform the maintenance on it. It's also important to note that the device is free to customers. There's no payment, fee, or fines associated with it. Customer can decline. And just to go over the strategy and the overview of the project, our strategy is to install these detectors by the gas point of entry, and the reason for that was to mitigate outside migration entering the premise, as we saw in the previous videos. Also, we wanted to ensure that any corrosion at the sleeve or point of entry is also captured, because from studies done, we know that the sleeve or point of entry is the location most likely to corrode first. Now, our strategy is also for both inside meter sets and outside meter sets, and I'll touch on that later on. And one last point is that our communication program, our customer communication program, includes an access request letter that we send the customers so that we can get access to install the device with some information about the detector. And once the detector is installed, all of our account holders in that premise receive an awareness letter indicating that this device has been installed. And it also provides the limitations of this device, and it provides recommendations to our customers that they should buy a residential detector for their livable spaces, such as in kitchens, as this unit is to be intended down in the basement by the gas point of entry. Now I'll turn it over to Melissa.
So we install these detectors near the gas point of entry, which is where the gas pipes enter the building, and they're installed near the ceiling above the point of entry or head of service valve. This is because methane rises and pockets around the ceiling, and these detectors detect methane, not mercaptan. We also take a photograph of each installation. And these are illustrated examples of where the detectors are installed in actual customer homes. And you can see they're near the ceiling above the gas point of entry. We also install a warning tag with each detector, and the tag provides basic information as to what's installed, where the customer can find additional information, and an evacuation procedure. Throughout all of our communications and customer communications, we reinforce the importance of if you smell gas, act fast, evacuate and call 911, even if the detector is not alarming. We also have these tags in 6 different languages to ensure our diverse customer population can understand all the information on the tags.
Thank you, Melissa. Now, before I go into details of the response protocol, it is very important that we mention our partnership with the fire departments. And before we did our pilot, we made sure that we held sessions with the different fire departments, both in New York City and Westchester counties. We made sure that we addressed their concerns and questions. We kept an open dialogue to ensure our partnership continues, because we take a lot of pride in maintaining that relationship with our first responders. Now, for this program, we developed new protocols for response, not only internally, but with the fire department. We created a new leak type. In CONED'S, we have 2 types of leaks: a gas leak inside, as we call it a GLI, or a gas leak outside, a GLO. And for this device, we created a gas leak alarm, or GLA, so that when we communicate with our responders, we tell them it is a GLA, then they know and understand that they are responding because a detector has been activated. So the way our response works is that a detector goes off, it sends the signal to the smart electric meter. The electric meters send the signal to our antennas on the street, and through wireless communication, the signal enters our system, and then it goes directly to the Gas Emergency Response Center, which is a 24/7 control room. At the control room, the notification shows up with an automatic ticket or work order created and ready to be dispatched. So there is no middle person, meaning there is no customer service representative. It is a direct link between the detector and our control room. The control room then contacts the local fire department, and it also dispatches a CONED'S and first responder. Now, the communication process to the control room can take about 1 minute, meaning from the moment the detector alarms to the moment the Gas Emergency Control Center receives the ticket. The FD has the fire department has a typical response time between 4 to 7 minutes, depending on the area, and our first responders have an average response time of 20 minutes or less. So 99% of the time, we are at the location by the time a customer calls to report that they hear the alarm. Now, let's talk about some of our GLAs, or gas leak alarms, that we experienced. The majority of them we experienced through the pilot program. So the pilot program began almost 2 years ago, and we received 264 alarms as of September 30th, I'm sorry, and from these units. And during the pilot program, we were able to get a wide range of alarms, which is important because we are learning and needed to learn as much as possible. So to this date, we have received 37 outside leaks, meaning leaks that migrated from the outside into the premise. And we also had 53 type 1 leaks. Out of the 37 type 1 leaks, we had 28 that were due to service lines or fittings on the service line leaking and entering the premise. Also, 8 of those 37 were due to a gas main leaking and migrating into the premise. So this is to emphasize that the location of the detector by the POE, by the point of entry, is critical in order to be able to detect these types of migrations into premises, which we know can be deadly. The next alarm I want to mention is the inside damage alarm. And this is the first alarm where we've had atmospheric conditions. So the story with this alarm is very peculiar because it was that a student at a dormitory somehow tripped while going down the stairs into a basement of the dormitory. The student then grabbed a gas pipe to prevent falling. It did it with such a force that it snapped the 1-inch gas pipe at the threads, creating a hazardous atmosphere with readings of 0.5% gas in air. So this was a significant event, as I mentioned, because it was the first time we actually enter the fire department. When they entered, they actually had levels of methane of 0.5 in air, and that's not typical. Now, we heard Melissa talk about the East Village event, and we can link this event and the value of detectors to unauthorized piping related alarms that we have responded to, which is something the fire department has been complimentary to, because they're able to go to a location and actually find somebody performing gas work without our knowledge, which is an added benefit that we were not expecting to see. Now, this is an example of an outside leak entering the premise. This was a leak in Manhattan. This example is from a cast iron gas main. It was leaking. It traveled through the underground infrastructure and entered a building through the telephone point of entry, as seen on the right side of the photo where the red circle is. And the gas detector was about 6 feet away from the telephone point of entry. It was on the side of the gas point of entry where the yellow circle is at. And in this case, it entered the basement because, as you can tell from the photograph, the telephone PoE was wide open, basically. And it traveled through the ceiling. Methane rises, travels through the ceiling and made it to the detector. And then the detector did its job. And I'll also like to make a point in here because sometimes we hear references to outside meter sets. So if we pretend for a minute here, let's pretend that those meters, for example, were outside. And typically our jurisdiction, all the time our jurisdiction ends at the outlet of the meter. So in this case, if we pretend that the meters were outside, then potentially we would not have installed a detector inside, which is what I want to emphasize, that in New York, we have a lot of infrastructure on the ground, and this infrastructure tends to be in the same path or the same lane as the gas services. So we want to have these detectors whether the meter is inside or the meter is outside, because gas migration can come from other utilities or also through the foundation, through the soil, because there's a lot of foundation walls in New York that are very porous. So gas can enter through it, and we want to capture that. We want to mitigate that. And these are examples of inside leaks. This is just to show all the types of leaks and benefits from the installation of detectors. These are smaller leaks, typically at fittings, that the detector is also picking up. And it also demonstrates the sensitivity of the unit. This is something that we were not expecting to see. So I like to think of it as an add-on benefit. And this is how they show up. You have to you use soap water on the fittings, and you get to see the bubbles. Now, during the pilot program, we wanted to get a sense of everything. So we learned about the detector sensitivity, as I just showed on the previous photograph. We also learned about our own installation process and created an enhanced pre-inspection process prior to installing detectors in a premise. We were able to see and understand the software technology and address any bugs in the system to ensure system performance. And we work very closely with the manufacturer to address any concerns or improvements on the detector, which leads me to the enhancement of being able to receive gas readings during an alarm. So what does that mean? That means that when a detector goes off because of an alarm, our dispatchers in the control room are able to see the current level of methane that it is at that location. It is a dashboard with a chart that refreshes every 30 seconds because the signals come in every 30 seconds and provides an update of the condition at the location. And this is important because it allows us to know if the condition prior to arrival is getting worse or is steady. Now, to be clear, this is new to us and we're just starting to learn from it. So there's more to come on this enhancement. We also have had a positive feedback from our customers. They want a detector, they want it after an alarm, and so far we've had a very good reaction from them. So this is very positive. And finally, New York State Public Service Commission has been very supportive of this technology and has approved this program under our current rate case. And as a member of this team, on a personal note, and for the past few years, the entire Edison organization has worked towards achieving this goal. So we're very proud of this. And now I turn it over to Melissa.
Thanks, Jonathan. So as Jonathan stated, we had a pilot program that ran for 2 years. It was 2018 and 2019, and that program went very well. So we kicked off our mass deployment mid-September of this year, and we're in the initial stages of the 5-year program. We plan on installing 12,000 units by year end in parts of Westchester and East Harlem. The next 2 years, we're planning on installing another 91,000 units per year, and we'll start installing them in the Bronx in conjunction with Westchester and Manhattan. We plan on having every building outfitted with a detector by the end of 2025. The detector installation program does need to follow the AMI deployment because it's required for the detector to communicate through that system in order to send the internal alarm back to the Gas Emergency Response Center. and we anticipate having all the AMI meters installed by the end of next year, 2021. To make customers aware of this program, we've started an ongoing marketing campaign. We provide detector awareness by sending letters, creating videos for the news and social media outlets. We knock on doors, calling customers, and this program has been well received by our peer utilities and also by our customers. And we're going to play a short video from one of our customers talking about how grateful they are that we installed a natural gas detector in their home.
At their New Rochelle home. What was happening was a gas, their new smart natural gas detector identified the owner, sounded an alarm, and remotely contacted CONED'S. 5 trucks show up first at the same time. CONED'S show up with 3 trucks. So okay, now all of a sudden they got a whole network full of trucks.
These devices are great devices that everybody should have in their home. They're free of charge for our customers, so there's no reason that anybody should not be able to get one of these in their homes. This will save your life, whether you're home or whether you're not home. It will detect if there's any gas leaks in your house, something that you may not even be able to detect.
We've installed over 9,000 of these devices in the past 2 years and have over 20,000 more to go in Westchester, Manhattan by the end of the year. Fire department, whatever it was,
Okay. Now, for industry interest, because we've had a lot, we partner with the American Gas Association, and this is the right time because we actually have a webinar that is being hosted by the AGA next Friday, October 23rd, related to residential methane detectors. So this is perfect timing for some of the gas operators that might not have heard too much about it or are interested in this type of program or are curious or want more information. But we do receive a lot of requests from other utility operators, not just here in the US, but actually from Europe as well. This is a well-known product so far. And the NTSB, they keep an eye on us. They ask questions. They're always interested in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And obviously the PSC is also very interested and has been following us. And the Gas Technology Institute has been a partner with us. And not only are we working with one manufacturer, but multiple ones. We have partnered with a couple of more manufacturers to bring more competition and to enhance the technology. And importantly, with the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, that is because there is no standard for installation of detectors, residential methane detectors. So they have a program going on, and they've partnered with other industry leaders to develop a standard for installation. So that is coming. It takes a couple of years. And insurance risk underwriters are also part of it. Now, at this time, I just want to say thank you for providing us this time to bring awareness on the program and enhancing safety. And now we are open for some questions.
Thank you very much, Jonathan and Melissa and Mark, for that presentation. I will ask everyone to feel free to submit your questions through the chat box here, and I will read them out to our panelists, or you can raise your hand to be unmuted. While folks are thinking of questions, maybe I'll go back to Commissioner Berman, Commissioner Velasquez, and Kevin as our moderators for today, if you all had any questions to get us started.
Mark, this is Kevin. I do have one question, or anybody else who could answer it. Your slide did talk about catching leaks from that originated from outside. So can you talk a little bit about that and the numbers on that?
Yeah, Kevin, I can start, and certainly Jonathan and Melissa can kick in. So it was the slide 16 in the presentation deck, but so far the data is primarily from the pilot program, which started 2 years ago. So 264 alarms received to date. 37 of those leaks originated. So when we responded to the alarm and we did the leak investigation, we found a leak either on a service or on the main, and that gas had migrated into the basement through either a crack in the foundation or through a gap in one of the point of entries, whether it was telephone, gas, electric. And really, that's the type of leak that we hoped and have targeted this program to find. I think that we're all well aware that the hazardous nature of gas leaks migrating from outside to in is really when significant events can occur. So that's kind of the context of it, Kevin. Was there another aspect of it you want me to touch on?
No, I just wanted to highlight that because that is one of really the things that sold us on this device, and really the methane detector program in general. Just I think the conventional wisdom was that these are being put inside and they're only going to detect leaks that originate inside, and we're finding out that that is not the case. And this slide really points that out.
Yeah, and we really went through, as Jonathan touched on during the presentation, we went through an evolution in our thinking on how to deploy this technology. We settled pretty quickly that the most important location would be near the POE. That's the location of risk. And then initially we were only going to target what we considered higher risk installations. But as we continue to work through the technology and thought through the the cost benefit calculus here, we got to all inside meters we would install a detector. And then not long after that, we realized it really doesn't matter where the meter is. Obviously, jurisdictional piping is driven by the outlet of the meter, but in terms of gas migrating from the outside to the inside and creating a hazardous condition, it doesn't matter where the meter is. So we made a decision to go ahead and install these devices on all our gas services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We have had a few questions come in from our audience. So the first one is, will this detector detect a leak at other places in the home, say a gas stove, if it is installed at the point of entry, presumably away from the gas stove or other appliances?
So I'll start and then Jonathan can kick in because he's got some specific experience. It all depends on where those appliances may be. So for example, if there's a living space in the basement area that's in fairly close proximity to where the detector is near the POE, it could detect other leaks. But one of the points we emphasize to our customers, this is really to protect the POE, the basement area. If you want protection for a leak on your stove, you really should be purchasing a commercially available unit to do that. But Jonathan, why don't you address based on your experience?
That is correct. You said it best, Mark. We have seen a variety of distances when it comes to leaks on customer piping or customer equipment. We have definitely detected leaks at water heaters. We have detected leaks on boilers, on equipment, and we have detected leaks on stoves. In New York City or Westchester, people tend to rent or create an apartment in the basement, and sometimes you end up having stoves or other type of gas equipment. And sometimes we've also discovered people leaving their stoves on and leaving the premise, and the detector has been able to pick that up. So we've had a variety of leaks, but we've definitely caught equipment malfunctions or equipment leaks, whether it is on the equipment itself or on the piping leading up to the equipment, whether it is a fitting, a valve, or something of the sort. So we've seen a range, a wide variety, and it all has to do with the migration of the leak. Gas is going to rise depending on the flow. It's going to travel as far as it can, and we've definitely seen 20 feet away, 30 feet away on a particular room or the next door room. And it's very interesting to see the types of migrations and the distances that sometimes we're able to detect through the detector program.
Thank you. Our next question is on the lifetime of the units. Just to clarify, the units are thrown away at the end of the 6 years, and a new one is to be installed regardless of use and maintenance, or does use and maintenance play a role in the lifetime of each unit?
Yes, so the lifetime of the unit is, as Jonathan touched on, is really driven by the detector itself, and that's something that we've been working very closely with the manufacturer to extend the lifetime and still maintain a 10% lower explosive limit sensitivity. So it doesn't depend on the use if it was alarmed. In fact, if a unit alarms, we replace it. That was the practice during the pilot, so we could do a post-event diagnostics on it. But yes, in general, they would be replaced based on their lifespan, and this will be a continual program going forward, which is why it's so important we get to this 10-year lifespan that we intend to pair up with our distribution integrity management program reviews, risk analyses, and we think it will give us a clear path to do service line inspections coincident with natural gas detector replacements on a 10-year frequency for inside services. So that's the vision going forward.
Great. And our next question is just on how much a detector costs per unit.
Yeah, so these detectors, because of all the research that's gone into them, are fairly expensive. Like a commercially available unit that you can buy off the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's are typically $35 to $40 if you wanted to put one in your kitchen or bedroom or another living space. These are much more expensive than that. I'm a little reticent to share that publicly, given I think limitations on that, but I could certainly respond to that one-on-one with folks. But they are the installed price, which includes the labor in the detector itself, is just more than $300 per unit.
Thank you. And the last question we've received is, do you believe that there would be a benefit to installing the detectors on exterior meters?
So we believe there is. I mean, these units are not the weatherproof. They have to be installed inside. So the benefit that we see is what Jonathan touched on. If we install the unit inside where the POE is, even if the meter is outside, the gas meter is outside, it will detect gas migrating into the basement, whether it's through the gas POE, the telephone POE, the electric POE. So we believe there's direct benefit. There's really no difference in terms of the safety benefit it provides. And then I think a related question, because I would expect people to challenge, our service territory is pretty unique in terms of how many inside meters we have, the density of our subsurface infrastructure, the fact that we were able to leverage our AMI project to be the communication vehicle for getting the alarm signal back to a response center. We believe it's technically feasible to use cellular technology, and then the safety benefit, even if you have an outside meter, is still very similar to a situation where you have an inside meter. So we do believe there's more general applicability of this technology.
Thank you. And I got one more question that just came through on the AMI. Does the AMI have a battery too? This questioner notes that the gas company came once to replace the battery in his AMI system. So wondering if that's an issue for CONED'S rollout.
So the electric meters do not have a battery. The units that are attached to gas meters do have a battery, and their lifespan is 20 years. And the way you get a 20-year lifespan out of those units is they only communicate once a day for the gas meters, whereas the electric meters on our system are communicating every 15 minutes. But it's a 20-year battery life on the gas meter units for AMI.
Thank you, Mark. That addresses all of the questions that we've received from the audience so far. So I will pass things back to our moderators, Commissioner Berman, Commissioner Velasquez, and Kevin, to see if you all have any final questions, or if not, any closing remarks.
This is Commissioner Berman. I just want to thank you. You know, we've been really in New York, a significant part of this as the regulator, and working with industry and others in the R&D, and then in the deployment of this on a smaller scale. So it's really great. We're excited in New York to have been able to bring this today through the webinar to a larger audience, and continue to engage and work with you and everyone on this for pipeline safety. So thank you.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Velasquez. I also just wanted to thank all the great info that was shared here from Con Edison on this project, and I think it's just very fascinating, and looking at the potential of what it can do here. I think it's got a lot of promise, and wish you all well on your 5-year deployment, and interested to see what other utilities will take a look at this technology and see how it could adapt into their operations. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Berman and Commissioner Velasquez, we very much appreciate the chance to share this information today. And of course, we continue to appreciate the support and collaboration of the Department of Public Service Gas Safety staff in moving this forward.
Thank you very much to Commissioner Berman and Commissioner Velasquez, Kevin, and Mark, Melissa, and Jonathan. Really appreciate your conversation today, and hope everyone has a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.